Thanks for joining me on Tableside with Kamilah. So this episode I've titled Grit and Grace. And what I thought about with this episode was like that grit that we all need, right? I think about my transition here to New York City, and there was so much that I needed to do. And to go back to the past episode of how do you identify yourself? You identify yourself by what you are and what you're not. It was really important when I landed in New York that I knew what I was not, right? I knew I was not like this New Yorker, very just strong, direct. That wasn't me. I've come to be some of those things, but I'm a California girl by nature, and trust me, all of my New York friends always remind me of that. But that's what's so great of what we get to do here at Tableside is that we're building a community no matter where we are. No matter if you're in New York, no matter if you're in Australia, no matter if you're back in my hometown of San Diego, this is what we're doing. And so I knew when I landed in New York, I needed to have that grit, but I knew what I was full of. What always has been poured into me is a level of grace. And I feel like that's what has helped me navigate my transition to New York City, but it's also helped me in my life. So as always in Tableside, we always like to instruct and inspire. So if we take it back to the table, this is a table that I set today for a cute little breakfast. And it's pretty basic. You're like, Kamilah, I haven't seen anything that's basic in Tableside. But you know what? It's kind of basic in the sense that I don't have a lot of flatware. There's not a lot really going on. And if you notice, I repurpose everything. So I have the flowers, which are always over the top. That's just my thing. Like flowers are my thing. For you, it doesn't have to be flowers. It can be food, accents, whatever you want it to be. I fell in love with this tablecloth because it's all the colors that I just really love that are on trend right now in market. And again, I like to style my table the way I style myself on them streets. So this is what I did. So you'll see like these are colors that I kind of have in my wardrobe going into spring, and these are the same colors that are on the table. I love the fabric of this tablecloth, and I don't want you to be afraid of using different types of fabric on your table. Silk, velour, certain types of cotton, brushed linen, whatever works for you. Like don't shy away from that or say that's too fancy. Like it's not too fancy. Remember, you're royalty. You're royalty. Do we have to remind you of that? You're royalty, king and queen, right? Oh, by the way, I was getting off the train the other day and I have like this big coat, and you know how we talk about knowing who you are, your identity? So the big thing in New York City is like you have to, like when you're walking, you have to be like purposeful, like straight face. Like I smile a lot, so you have to be like purposeful. So I'm walking out the train, I have this big coat on, and this guy goes, "Hey bougie," and literally all I wanted to do was break out laughing because I know who I am and I'm kind of bougie, but I couldn't even say anything. I was just like, literally walked out the train. He didn't know me from Adam. He's like, "Hey bougie." Like, I'm like, you know what? That's who I am. I just exude it, right? Okay, back to you. Not about me, back to you, back to the table. So again, velour, table linens, don't shy away from that. Napkin, just an accent as well. It brings the colors in. And again, like let me know what you think about the products that we're using. I really want us to be able to have a conversation and feedback. So when I go out in the world and create a home line for our tribe, for Tableside, I won't just create it because of what I like. I also can create it from what you like. I know there was a set of blue napkins that someone DM'd me and asked me where I got them from, and she was like, "Link in bio, I'm clicking right now." I'm like, no, link in bio is a video, but hold on, there'll be a link in bio where you can purchase. Time takes time. In terms of the home decor, I love these home goods, this plates. It's very user-friendly. It's not matchy-matchy. Like everything doesn't have to match. I love it when I'm on the streets of New York and I see a lot of stylish men and women, and they know how to cross-coordinate patterns, colors, and it's things that I would never put together, but it just goes. And the same thing with our table. Like I didn't think to put this together, but it kind of just creates a mood, right? It creates a vibe. Never think when you're watching an episode, when we're sharing as a community different styles and tablescapes, never think it has to look exactly like this. Like this isn't your Pinterest board. This is my table. You take one thing and you create your own Pinterest, your own table, maybe just out of this napkin. And I want you to feel comfortable that when someone comes to your home, not only will it be a reflection of you, but it's also such an intimate, warm environment that they learn something about you that they just never knew before. This is our theme table, Grit and Grace. And again, grit is really important. You have to know who you are. You have to be confident. You can't shrink like a flower every time something happens to you. And ladies, like, this is really for you. You really can't do that. No matter how fearful you are, you may feel, feelings aren't facts. No matter how fearful you may feel, you still have to have that grit. And that's what really separates people that try something and then they slack off and people that see it through. What I like to say is you have to be very steadfast, like very steadfast in what you're doing. And that grit will help you in your life. And grit has a lot to do with negotiation, right? Because we talked in our last episode about everything happens at the table. And one of the things that happens at the table is negotiation. And I love a good story, right? And so let me tell you what happened as I was starting my business. So I remember we had just moved into our second warehouse and we were setting up a phone system, right? It's like one of those typical corporate phone systems where, you know, it's like an automated recording. You press this for this person, this for that person. And the gentleman sitting across from my desk was from the phone system, the company. And we were negotiating price and what the cost was going to be. And he told me, he had the nerve to tell me. Now, I wasn't as hyped as I'm pretty hyped right now when I think back in the moment, but I had a level of grace during the conversation. And he had the nerve to tell me, Kamilah, you don't worry your pretty little self about that. What? Like, I couldn't believe it. Now, in that moment, I could have gotten upset. I could have gotten offended. Like, I'm a little offended right now, but like, we'll get to that. But I didn't. I chose to have a level of grace. I chose to have a level of grace in that moment. And I thought, my grandmother always said, Mama Scott, pretty is as pretty does. And I thought to myself, pretty is as pretty does, and pretty's about to close this deal because I'm gonna get my needs met. And you know what? I did. But I did it because I didn't let my emotions get the best of me. I didn't feel like I needed to prove to him how smart I was. And I was like, no. We're gonna play this all the way through because it's not a game, but guess what? If it is, we're gonna play to win. And that's what Grit and Grace does. It gave me the grace to be calm, to see it through in the negotiation, but the grit to not just throw up my hands in the air. You have everything in you to be as powerful and successful as you need to be. And when you sit at a table, no matter where it is in life, you're gonna be able to negotiate your needs. You're gonna be able to negotiate those things that are important to you. And not only are you gonna be able to negotiate it, to close deals, to advocate for yourself, but you're gonna be able to do it with a sense of grace. You're not gonna negotiate like Kamilah. You're not gonna negotiate like the people on Shark Tank. You're gonna negotiate by you. Because there's gonna come a time in your life where more is expected of you. There is going to come a time in your life where you're gonna sit at a table that either you create or that's been created for you, and you're gonna be asked to negotiate, whether that's what your needs are, whether that's in a relationship, whether that's in your career, maybe it's even you advocating for your child with your teacher. These are things that are going to happen. And here at Tableside, we're gonna talk about everything. We're gonna talk about the fun, the pretty, the style, but I'm also gonna give you the tools and the keys that have helped me launch my own brand, that have helped me become a successful founder. The table is not just a pretty place. The table is where business gets done. The table is where negotiations are made. The tables are where relationships start and relationships end. But above all, the table is where you are. And when you sit down at the table, you are gonna be armed. You are going to be armed because you're part of this community. You're going to know who you are. You're going to know who your tribe is. You're going to have the skill sets, king and queen, go back to royalty, to know that any trial that comes, anything that happens in your life, you have a community of men and women that have sat down at the table with you and have given you the tools to succeed. And above all, remember, there's always a chance to set your own table.